Imagine a farmer named Jose who arrives at the airport to purchase his private jet and is treated rudely and prejudicially by the employees and other customers. When Jose arrived at the showroom, the salesperson gave him a quick once-over and immediately judged him by his appearance. To them, someone dressed as simply as Jose couldn't possibly afford a jet this luxurious. They had expected an elegant, sharply dressed buyer, not a humble farmer. But Jose didn't let their assumptions faze him. He stepped forward with quiet determination, his eyes gleaming with genuine interest as he inspected the jet. The salesperson, however, grew impatient as Jose took his time. "Well, if you're not serious, I'll have to attend to other customers," they said dismissively, their tone sharp. Jose froze, shocked by the blatant disrespect. Gathering his composure, he replied firmly, "Actually, I am interested in buying." Instead of an apology, the salesperson's hostility deepened. Other customers began to chime in, their whispers not as discreet as they thought. "He doesn't look like someone who can afford this. Maybe he's lost." Their loud remarks were cruel, and Jose could feel their piercing glances as they judged him. The humiliation made him question if his dream was worth enduring such treatment. Yet, a stubborn flame burned within him. He refused to give up. Just as he steeled himself to continue, a tap on his shoulder startled him. He turned abruptly, bracing for more mockery, only to find a familiar face. "Well, if it isn't my old friend Jose," exclaimed the man standing there, dressed casually in a striped shirt and slightly worn pants. His round belly gave him a jovial air. "What brings you here?" Jose's tense shoulders relaxed slightly. "What are you doing here?" he asked, a small smile breaking through. The two old friends fell into an easy conversation, though Jose couldn't shake the weight of the judgmental stares around them. His friend soon asked, "Are you here to buy a plane?" Jose hesitated, unsure of how to answer. "I was thinking about it," he admitted, "but I don't think I fit in here, if you know what I mean." His friend laughed heartily. "Don't mind these rich snobs. They don't know anything. Let them judge. It's not worth worrying about." Despite his friend's comforting words, the mocking whispers around them persisted. "He's probably here to take a picture of the plane," someone sneered. Jose's chest tightened when he noticed a group preparing to snap a photo of him, not to capture a memory, but to ridicule him. Their taunts grew louder, and Jose's unease turned to dread. He began to follow his friend toward the exit, eager to escape, when a loud, mocking voice stopped him in his tracks. "Hey, farmer," the voice boomed, drawing everyone's attention. "You really think anyone will take you seriously dressed like that? That dirty hat? Those boots? You should just go back to your farm." The entire showroom fell silent, all eyes on Jose. His heart pounded like a drum, but something inside him refused to let this insult go unanswered. Slowly, he turned to face the group, standing taller than he had before. "I'm here to buy a plane," Jose said, his voice steady and firm, not to impress anyone. The men erupted in laughter. "You? Buy a jet?" One scoffed. "Look at yourself. Your clothes are stained, and your boots are caked in dirt. You'll never be one of us. Just give up and go home." Jose raised an eyebrow, a hint of a sardonic smile tugging at his lips. "You think being one of you is my goal?" he said, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. "I'm not here to fit in. I'm here because I have the courage to chase my dreams, no matter what it takes." The group's laughter grew louder. "Dreams? You'll need more than a lifetime to save for a jet. And even if, by some miracle, you buy one, who's going to fly it for you? You're just a nobody." The words stung, but they also fueled Jose's determination. His pride flared, and he stood his ground, his voice unwavering. "I'm not dreaming. I'm here to make it a reality. And I have proof." The room went still as Jose reached into his pocket and pulled out a check. He held it up for everyone to see. The amount written on it matched the exact price of the jet. "You said I couldn't buy a jet?" Jose asked, his eyes locking onto the man who had mocked him. "Care to repeat that now?" The group stared, their faces a mix of shock and embarrassment. Some avoided his gaze entirely, their bravado crumbling. "I think we should leave," one of them muttered, his voice barely audible. But Jose wasn't finished. He raised his voice, commanding the attention of the entire room. "What's the matter?" he asked, his tone sharp and unyielding. "You all had so much to say before. Why so quiet now?" "I want my son to know what you've done," Jose said, his voice trembling with controlled fury. He pulled out his phone and dialed his son, a successful lawyer. "You need to get here right now," Jose said, his tone firm but filled with emotion. "There are several men discriminating against me, including the salesperson." Within an hour, Jose received a call. "I'm here," his son said resolutely. The airport doors swung open with a commanding force, and all eyes turned toward the entrance. In walked Jose's son, a dark-skinned man impeccably dressed in a sharp suit, his confident stride exuding authority. His polished appearance was a stark contrast to the disrespect his father had endured. "Dad, are you okay?" his son asked, his voice gentle yet firm. Jose nodded, his anger giving way to a mixture of relief and pride. "Yes, I'm fine," he replied. The men who had mocked Jose now shifted uncomfortably under the piercing gaze of his son. "You'll pay for what you've done to my father," the lawyer declared, his voice unwavering. "I'm here to make things right." He moved through the group with purpose, demanding information from each person involved. "I'll sue every one of you," he said, his words cutting through the air like a blade. "And the company you work for will be held accountable for this blatant discrimination." As Jose and his son walked back to their car, the judgmental stares of the men followed them until they were out of sight. Once outside, Jose placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "I'm so proud of you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. The case quickly escalated to court, where a mediation hearing was scheduled. Jose's legal team meticulously prepared, gathering witness statements and documents that showcased the discrimination and humiliation he had faced. In the courtroom, Jose and his son presented their case with eloquence and passion. Their arguments were supported by undeniable evidence, painting a clear picture of the injustice Jose had endured. The judge, after listening intently, addressed the courtroom. "From what I've seen, it's evident that Jose was treated unfairly. A person's appearance should never be grounds for discrimination. That much is clear." A ripple of hope passed through Jose and his team, but the judge's expression grew more serious. However, the judge continued, "I must also consider the company's side. They have a reputation to maintain and a brand to preserve. There are always two sides to every story." One of Jose's lawyers rose, his voice indignant. "With all due respect, Your Honor, my client is a hard-working, deserving individual who was subjected to humiliation simply for pursuing his dreams." The judge raised a hand, signaling for silence. "You're right," the judge acknowledged. "Jose has every right to feel indignation and to fight for his rights. But instead of simply condemning the company, I propose a solution. If the company acknowledges its error and implements meaningful changes to prevent this from happening again, I may consider reducing the penalty." The courtroom fell into a tense silence. One of Jose's lawyers stood abruptly. "We cannot accept this proposal," he said, his voice firm. "The company committed a serious violation against Jose and must be held accountable." Another lawyer added, "Jose was publicly humiliated by this company and its employees. We will not settle without repercussions." The judge, though visibly irritated by their fervor, nodded. "If that's how you want to proceed, then we'll move to trial," the judge declared coldly. "But be warned, if your evidence isn't solid, you could lose everything." Thus, the trial began. Jose watched the proceedings with a mix of nervousness and optimism as his legal team built a compelling case. They highlighted the blatant discrimination and the emotional toll it had taken on him. The company's lawyers, however, fought fiercely, attempting to deflect the accusations and downplay the events. But Jose's team was relentless, presenting irrefutable evidence and witness testimonies that left little room for doubt. As the trial intensified, the tension in the courtroom grew palpable. Jose sat silently, his hands clasped tightly together, his heart pounding with anticipation. While the evidence strongly favored him, the judge's stance remained unreadable. Finally, the trial drew to a close, and everyone waited anxiously for the verdict that would determine the outcome of Jose's fight for justice. The courtroom doors creaked open, and all eyes turned toward the entrance. A familiar figure stepped in, a woman with an air of determination. The judge raised an eyebrow, visibly perplexed. "Who are you?" the judge asked. "My name is Patricia," she replied, her voice steady. "I work at the airport, and I've come to testify." "Well," the judge said, leaning forward, "it seems we have a new witness. If you have relevant evidence, we will consider it." Patricia stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "I heard everything," she declared, "and I recorded it all. They tried to stop me, but I wouldn't let them treat Jose this way." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The company's lawyers exchanged uneasy glances, their confident demeanor faltering. Patricia walked to the front and connected her phone to the courtroom's audio system. "I'll let the recordings speak for themselves," she said, pressing play. The room fell silent as the damning audio filled the air. Mocking laughter, cruel remarks, and blatant insults echoed through the speakers. The words were sharp and undeniable, each one painting a vivid picture of the discrimination Jose had endured. When the recording ended, the silence in the room was deafening. The judge removed his glasses and rubbed his temples, visibly stunned. Gathering his papers, he took a moment to collect his thoughts before addressing the courtroom. In light of the evidence presented, the judge began, his voice firm. "This court finds that Jose was indeed discriminated against and humiliated by this company." The judge turned his gaze to the company's lawyers, his tone growing sharper. "Your client has much to learn about respect and decency. Therefore, this court orders the company to pay a substantial fine. Additionally, the company is required to implement mandatory sensitivity training for all employees to prevent such behavior in the future." A loud gavel strike echoed through the courtroom, signaling the end of the trial. Jose's heart swelled with a mix of relief and triumph. He stood, his head held high, as his lawyers congratulated him. One leaned in with a grin. "We'll use the fine to help you invest in something even better than you imagined." Leaving the courtroom, Jose couldn't suppress the victorious smile spreading across his face. His confidence had grown immeasurably, and he was ready to take the next step. A few days later, Jose returned to the airport, this time holding a large check. He walked with purpose, his head held high, exuding an air of unshakable pride. The employees who had mocked him froze as he approached. Their faces were etched with embarrassment and regret. Jose stopped, turning to face them directly. "Still think I'm a nobody?" he asked, his voice carrying a quiet intensity. Without waiting for an answer, he turned back toward the competitor's store. As he reached the door, he glanced over his shoulder and declared loudly, "I'm going to buy my jet, but not from you. I'll take my business to someone who deserves it." Inside the competitor's showroom, Jose purchased the best jet he could afford. The staff treated him with respect and enthusiasm, a stark contrast to his previous experience. As he boarded his new jet, the employees from the other store watched in silence, their regret palpable. Jose didn't spare them another glance. Flying home in his gleaming new plane, Jose felt a surge of pride and confidence like never before. When he landed, his wife and children were waiting for him with open arms, their joy mirroring his own. As they celebrated together, Jose gazed at his jet, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. He had faced humiliation, judgment, and discrimination, but he had emerged stronger, more determined, and more resilient than ever. With a smile, he thought, "This is just the beginning." To all our viewers, thank you for joining us on Jose's incredible journey. We hope his story of resilience and determination inspired you as much as it inspired us. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more uplifting tales like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.